Good evening, Matador family. Thank you all for joining. A lot of familiar names that I see here. We have about 115 participants. I see a lot of staff. I see parents. We've got some board members on here, as well as some members of my team. It's hard to believe that the first day of school is almost here, August the 16th. And we are certainly excited to open our doors to those smiling faces on that first day of school. But it's also hard to believe that 18 months ago, everything was shut down and all of our students were learning remotely. And so much has happened since that time. I feel that we've all grown and become better and stronger because of the challenges that COVID has brought on. So I certainly want to give our parents, our staff credit, and students for the last 18 months for being flexible. We've had to be flexible, and for your patience as we have continued to experience challenges with COVID. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of those continuing challenges once we get to that topic on the agenda. On today's agenda, we are going to talk a little bit about student registration. There have been some changes with student registration. We're going to talk about school supplies, student meals, a reminder about the tax holiday, and just some health and safety protocols that will or will not be in place once school is back in session. And if time permits, we will have an opportunity for some Q&A. Student registration has been up and running now for a couple of weeks, and we are just excited and proud that we're able to do this online and avoid the long lines that we used to see in the hot summer sun when those lines would wrap around school buildings. You can register your child. There is still time at www.seguinisd.net. You'll immediately see a screen that looks very similar to what you see right now. Beginning tomorrow, August 4th through the 5th, between 8 and 6 p.m., you can provide residency verification at campuses. That is available to all families from Ball Early Childhood Learning Center all the way to Seguin High School. You can also upload those documents online. So step 2 begins tomorrow through the 5th. So please make sure, families, if you have registered and gotten to that and you see that check mark, there is still another step that you need to follow, and that's to complete the residency verification online or at your child's school between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. tomorrow. For technical assistance, you can call your school. As far as student meals are concerned, there are a few changes that I'll get to here shortly. All students will continue to eat free meals for the 2021 to 2022 school year. We will no longer have the weekend meals available once school begins. So once school begins, those weekend meals will no longer be available. We're also reducing the number of sites for curbside pickup. We are reducing it to one site that we believe is centrally located at Seguin. And that is going to be important for families of students who have tested positive and are having to quarantine. We still want to be able to provide meals for students. Because we will not have virtual learning, we're reducing the number of sites. But in addition to that, we started to see very little participation in those curbside meal pickup sites, as well as the weekend meals. So we have made the decision to do away with the weekend meals and to reduce the curbside pickup site to just one at Seguin. If you have any additional questions, you can visit the Child Nutrition Department page at www.seguin.k12.text.us page/fs.home. The sales tax holiday is this weekend. So families, if you are still looking to purchase school supplies, certain school supplies, school clothes. It is this weekend when you can shop tax-free. This website that is available here on this slide outlines what you can purchase tax-free. As far as health and safety, I'm going to go over some things that are in place and some things that are not in place. But I want to start by just sharing that it's difficult. Since the beginning of this pandemic, unfortunately, some actions, some protocols, some safety measures have become politicized. So what we have to do is continue to come together like we have been over the past 18 months for the betterment of our students. What we have to do is keep in mind that the only way we're going to get through these challenging times is to continue to support one another. So I am going to ask that you continue to give one another grace. And I feel that Seguin ISD and the Seguin ISD community have really done an amazing job of giving each other grace over the last 18 months. And for that, I am very thankful for. One thing that we will not have in place this upcoming school year is the remote learning option. So remote learning has come to an end, and all students will be required to learn face-to-face. That decision was pretty much made for us, as the state will no longer be providing funding for students who would, if we were providing it, attend remote learning. So that would be a huge financial hit to the school system. In addition to that, looking at STAR data, we believe that the best place for students is here in our schools. And we are going to make every effort to get our students back up to speed, but also ensure that it is a safe learning environment. However, for students who do have to go out for quarantine because they've tested positive, there will still be an opportunity to engage remotely, but we are not going to be providing that full-time remote learning experience. And I say that because there will be students that have to go out on quarantine because the COVID numbers are increasing. We went several weeks without any staff or student positive COVID cases to now starting to see some cases with staff. We have several staff members who have tested positive over the last couple of weeks, which is concerning and an indicator of what things will likely look like when school starts. That really does go into mask. We are not going to require a mask in our facilities. We cannot require a mask in our facilities. If we ask that a mask mandate be implemented or that masks are enforced, we can be fined. We can be fined for having a sign that says mask required. So we have asked all of our school administrators to remove all signage because we can be fined. However, students and staff still have the option to wear masks. In fact, with the numbers increasing as they are in our community, with the number of patients hospitalized in our very own hospital here in Seguin with COVID, I would recommend wearing masks. In fact, this week I started wearing a mask here in the office building or when I'm around larger crowds. Being at the high school yesterday and today with hundreds of other educators attending a conference, I chose to wear a mask. I will continue to encourage mask wearing so long as the COVID cases are continuing to increase. But again, it is a student's and parents' choice. So parents, I do ask that you take an opportunity to talk to your children about what that decision you're going to make in your home is going to be. And I also ask everyone to please be respectful of everyone's decision. Everyone has a right to make a decision to wear or not to wear a mask. But what I do ask is that we be respectful of one another. Whether someone chooses to wear a mask, we be respectful. Whether someone chooses not to wear a mask, we be respectful. But please, please be in tune with what's happening in our community. And what we are seeing are increases in cases. So with that, again, masks are optional for Seguin ISD students and employees. We will continue to provide masks. So if you are sending your student to school with the mask, they forget it, leave it in the car, leave it at home, you run out, no worries. We have plenty of masks. We are supplying our campuses with masks just as we did last year. In addition to our mask protocols, which are optional, we are going to continue with the hygiene protocols that we had in place last year, the frequent hand washing, encouraging refillable water bottles, and utilizing hand sanitizer. We still have a large supply of hand sanitizer. We are going to continue to order hand sanitizer to be used in the classroom. One of the great things about these hygiene protocols coupled with masks is that it really minimized the number of illnesses that we were seeing in our schools. We saw very little to no colds, strep throat, flu, and other illnesses because of our practices. So I also ask parents that you please remind your students to continue to wash their hands regularly, to utilize hand sanitizer, and we are asking that parents send their students with a refillable water bottle to avoid utilizing a water fountain. And those are just good practices that will continue long after COVID. So how is COVID going to work once a student is identified as being COVID positive? Well, we're still going to quarantine a student who is COVID positive. If we identify that a student is experiencing COVID symptoms at school, we are going to send them home. We also have the opportunity to test, of course, with parent permission at school. Or if a parent takes their child to the doctor and they test positive for COVID, you will be asked to quarantine. You will be required to quarantine. We are not going to continue with the contact tracing where we are closing down an entire wing of school or an entire classroom or an entire building because of COVID. We really do feel that the mask being optional and being worn, that the hygiene protocols are certainly going to make a difference. But what we will do is send communication to parents for COVID cases in the classroom. So if you are in Miss Smith's third grade classroom at Weinert, then, and a student tests positive for COVID, whether at home or at school, a letter will be going home to parents informing them that a child in their student's classroom has tested positive for COVID. The school will have tests available with parent permission to test your child. But we are not going to quarantine an entire classroom, but we will continue to encourage mask wearing. Again, we're going to have testing available for close contact. So rather than contact trace and send dozens or hundreds of students home, we will have the opportunity to conduct a quick test to ensure that our students are safe in their classrooms. Again, we are not going to test students without parents' permission. So that is going to be up to the parents to make that decision. So we will be contacting you parents to ask if we can test a child, or parents, you can ask that the school test a child. So let's say that over Labor Day weekend, you went to a family function and you found out that, that Sunday before school on Monday, that someone tested positive for COVID who was in your presence, your family's presence on that Friday or Saturday. You can contact the school and inform them that your child had close contact, and you can request that a child be tested, because we want to make every effort to keep our students in school. What we did learn last year is that the in and out quarantine for days, in and out, and being in remote learning certainly did have an impact on student achievement. So we want to make sure that our students are with us as much as possible. So again, going back to summarize, it's in-person learning, face-to-face learning for this upcoming school year. The state is not funding remote learning. The COVID numbers are increasing. I have a phone call with the county and local health officials tomorrow morning to get the latest update. And if I feel that it is necessary to update the community, I will make sure to come back on and provide you with an update on current trends. Masks are not mandatory per Governor Abbott's executive order. Again, masks are optional in Seguin ISD. However, they are encouraged. Hygiene protocols will continue to remain in place: hand washing, refillable water bottles, and hand sanitizer. Letters will be sent home to parents for COVID cases in the classroom. So if you're wondering if you're going to be aware that there could possibly be a COVID spread in your child's classroom or school, yes, you will be receiving communication, and testing will be available for close contact. There will be a free COVID-19 vaccination clinic for anyone in our community age 12 and up on August the 11th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Seguin High School in the Performing Arts Center here at 1315 East Cedar Street. Again, vaccines for free available at Seguin High School. It will be the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine that will be available. Parents, I highly encourage you to really think about and consider vaccinating your child to ensure that they don't miss out on any of their education opportunities this upcoming school year. There will be other upcoming vaccination clinics as well. So if for some reason you have plans that prevent you from taking advantage of this opportunity, there will be other upcoming opportunities as well. Again, it's free, it's fast, no insurance required. At this time, I am going to be able to answer some questions live. I'm going to give about 5 minutes for live Q&A, and some we'll answer live and some we will answer in the chat. But I do appreciate you all tuning in to this week's virtual town hall. As we continue to see things progress with COVID, we'll continue to keep you all informed. We will schedule virtual town halls when we feel that they are necessary, but we can surely say that they will be scheduled on a regular basis to keep you all informed of important district events. But most importantly, to keep everyone informed with COVID, as it will continue to be a concern as we begin this school year. So one of the questions in the chat was if there would be virtual learning. There will no longer be virtual learning for school. However, there will be opportunities for students to engage through some of the online platforms that are available if for some reason they have to be out because they have tested positive for COVID. Will temperatures still be checked as students are arriving? We still have the temperature cameras in place as students are coming into their schools. It automatically checks temperatures, sends an alert to administration if someone walks in with a fever, but we will not be one by one checking students' temperature because of the limited staff availability and how much that slows down starting of the school day. But most importantly, it is because we have limited staff to check temperature one by one every single day. But the great thing is we will be starting school this year with that technology to be able to check students' temperatures as they are walking through the doors. If you're interested in becoming a sub, we have someone who is interested in substituting for the district. We need substitutes. So please talk to your friends, your neighbors, your family. If someone is looking for extra income, we are in need of substitutes. Please visit the Human Resources Department or call them at 830-401-8628. Especially because of COVID, there will be an even bigger need for substitute teachers. So I please encourage you to ask your friends and family to apply to be a sub. Again, there is no other option but to send your students face-to-face. Someone is asking if there is another option for students if they do not want to send them. The only option is to send your students to school. We are not offering remote learning. However, if you feel like you still have concerns, you are more than welcome to send your student to school with a mask. If your child, another question, if your child receives a letter that there is a COVID case in their classroom, are they allowed to receive virtual learning? We will not have virtual learning. Our teachers can no longer sustain juggling teaching face-to-face and virtually. However, if your child has to quarantine because they test positive, they can engage through Seesaw, through Google Classroom, and other avenues with their classroom. We can no longer sustain that. We do not have the staff to be able to provide virtual and face-to-face learning, and we will not quarantine an entire class if one person tests positive for COVID. However, we do have the option to provide testing to get immediate results and determine whether a student needs to go into quarantine or not. Are we allowing adults on campus this year? Yes, we are. So if you want to go and have lunch with your kindergarten student at Vogel Elementary, you can go and have lunch with your student at Vogel Elementary. We want to get our parents engaged on our campuses. That was something that we missed. And in our surveys that we sent out last spring, parents felt disconnected. You no longer have to feel disconnected. Unless things change or some executive order comes down from Governor Abbott, we will allow parents on campus. So yes, schools will be able to have visitors. As far as school supplies, we are providing school supplies to all of our students this year. What we will not provide are backpacks and water bottles. So we do ask that parents purchase those. This is only for this year that we are going to provide the school supplies. We feel that because of everything that we have gone through, families have experienced over the last 18 months, one way to alleviate just a little bit of that stress is to provide school supplies. We have also received additional grant dollars to be able to do that for this year. So for this year, we're providing school supplies, and I encourage our parents to take advantage of it. Again, checking temperatures, they're automatically checked as students are walking through the school building. Another question is, will siblings need a quarantine if another sibling is COVID positive? If one sibling is COVID positive, we have tests to be able to test the other siblings. Some of the trends that we are seeing is that one sibling has COVID and another sibling does not have COVID, or half the family has COVID and the other half does not. We're not going to automatically force an entire sibling group into quarantine, but we will ask that you allow us to conduct a COVID test. Just for clarification, it was not a local decision to not continue weekend meals. USDA did not extend the flexibility to allow school districts to provide the weekend meals. So just some clarification on that. USDA will not allow for school districts to continue to have that flexibility to offer the weekend meals. Breakfast in the classroom at our elementary schools. The question is, will students have lunch in the cafeteria or classroom? Students at elementary will have breakfast in the classroom and lunch in the cafeteria. Will children be social distance in class? It is going to be impossible to social distance if we have 100% of our students in our classrooms. However, you can require your child to wear a mask. We're still going to have some of the plexiglass barriers available in our classrooms. We're still going to have the hand sanitizer, but I believe the most effective measure is wearing masks. And if that is a concern, I would ask that you have your children wear a mask. Will we check visitors' temps? Visitors' temps are likely going to be checked when they walk in the door through the digital temperature checks. And I am going to take a couple more questions before we close. School supplies provided for early childhood all the way through high school. Our campuses will have supplies for all students, all grade levels. Can you hold your child back if you feel that your child missed a year? Yes, you can. The Texas Education Agency has given parents that option. However, we will ask that you meet with your child's principal and possibly teacher before making that decision. We want parents to carefully weigh those options if that is something that you're considering. With that, I haven't seen any other questions come through, but I certainly do appreciate all of you taking the time to join me for this virtual town hall. I look forward to engaging in dialogue with you again in the coming days. I want to wish everyone a very safe and happy first week of school. I am certain that I'm going to see many of you during Meet the Teacher next week. I look forward to seeing you and your children. Have a great evening. And one more thing before we close, it's a great day to be a Matador.